whip and the leader sprung. I says, day, day to the wagon tongue. Turkey in the straw, turkey in the hay. Roll 'em up and twist 'em up behind, tuck a haul and hit 'em up a tune called Turkey in the Straw. I went out to milk and I didn't know how. I milked a goat instead of a cow. A monkey sitting on a pile of straw, winking his eyes at his mother-in-law. Turkey in the straw, turkey in the hay. Roll 'em up and twist 'em up behind, tuck a haul.
Well, good morning. Welcome to the homestead. I want to take a few minutes this morning to answer some questions that some of y'all had about knives that I make. And one thing that was asked is the durability of the knives, the durability of the handles in the knives and things like that. You're not going to find a knife that'll stand up to abuse. In other words, if you take a knife that has a wood handle on it and take it out here and beat it on firewood, you're probably going to end up cracking a handle. Won't hurt the knife. May have to resharpen it after a while, but you hit the handle wrong, yeah, it'll crack. Same thing with deer horn. Deer horn's a little more durable because it's got the tang up in it glued in, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute. But durability of the handles are as good as you use or abuse the knives themselves. Now, as far as skinning deer, throwing it around here, throwing it around there, throwing it on your table, throwing it in your backpack, whatever you're doing, yeah, they'll hold up to a good bit. Now, the metal is a whole other story. I try to use the best metal that I can find. These old sawmill blades, the old sawmill blades are made out of N6, N7 spring steel, which is, and it is a great metal, but they're getting harder to find. The newer sawmills are made out of more of a high-speed steel, which still durable, still able to shape up, sharpen, and stay sharp. As a matter of fact, I like them. They're a little thicker, but on a larger knife, that's kind of what you want. I do make my small buoys out of 5160 spring steel, which is what most axes are made out of. So they're going to hold up good, and the metal is great, and the metal will hold an edge. It's going to hold an edge as good as you treat it, normalize your metal and all of that. So let's talk a little bit about normalization. When you beat on a piece of steel, regardless of what you do, and by the time you cut it out and you put a grinder on it and smooth it up, and you put it over here and put it on the thing and sharpen it and put it in water and cool it and all of that, molecules in your metal get somewhat messed up. Now, there are people that would argue with that and say, unless you take a round bar stock and you beat your metal completely out, your molecules are okay. Well, no, they're not. I mean, scientifically, that's been proven that they're not, but I'm not going to get into an argument on that. What I want you to understand is the normalization process. Now, I put these in the forge, raw metal to begin with. Once you get it shaped out, smoothed up, get your edges cut, you're basically ready to put the handle on, except for running them through the quenching process, normalization process. I put my knives through there till they get up to around 1700, between 17 and 1800 degrees. They turn a very, what I call pumpkin orange. And when that happens, you know that that's the degree they're up to. Now, it's going to vary somewhat, but you're going to be in the ballpark. If you really want to get down to precise heat, then get you a gauge that you can pop on it, and it'll tell you exactly what the temperature is on it. I don't have one. I start off in this thing with $500, $600 put into it, and I've grown to where I am now, and that's one thing that I probably need to buy this year. It's just that when I start doing the blacksmithing and you start buying other tools that you really need to do it and do an accurate job of it, there are some things that you put on the back burner. Hi, that's a pun right there. But I'm going to get one this year. I've done made my mind up. I found a couple that I like. They're not terribly expensive, but when you can buy 6 rough sanding belts for what you can buy one for, personally, I choose the 6 rough sanding belts. But like I said, gonna get one this year. Put them through the normalization process, 1700 to 1800 degrees. You take it out until all the color's out of it. Now, if you walk outside with that and you hold it and you look at it in about a minute, minute and a half, you're gonna say there's no color. You need to bring it inside your shop and find a corner of your shop that's shaded. Um, I've got an air tank that's there that blocks all the sunlight out that comes in the windows. When you take that knife and you stick it behind there where it's in that full shadow, you're going to see the color still in it. It's still going to be orange. I hold it back there until that orange is completely gone out of it. Bring it back in here and put it in. The second time I try to get it about 1500 degrees or a carrot looking orange color. If you get it carrot looking, you're somewhere in the ballpark where you need to be. All right, we leave it in there. We take it out. We do the exact same thing. Take it back in there, put it in the shadows. When the color's out of it, bring it back in here, put it back in the forge. Now this time, you want it to get kind of a candy apple red. And this is probably the hardest part to do because if you leave it in there too long, it's going to go past that 800 to 1100 degree range that you're looking for. So what I do is I put it in and I'll pull it out and I'll put it in and I'll let it sit a minute till it heats until I see that candy apple red forming on the knife. And once it's formed and I see it solid, for example, today I pulled it out and there was a space in the middle halfway up the blade that didn't look heated, and it was because I was running 2 burners and I put it a little far back. It was catching the tip and it was catching the back end. You want it under a full burner where it's getting your heat evenly distributed. Then that comes out to a candy apple red. You set it over here until there's absolutely no color in it. I mean, set it over here till you can touch it. May be hot, but you can touch it. Then you put it back in, and what you want to look for in it is non-magnetic. Now, when it starts turning a little orange, you see the traces of orange in it. If you're going to stamp your mark on it, pull it out, put it on your anvil, stamp your mark, and put it back in. Then once it gets to where when you take it out, you've got a magnet, and you touch that magnet around. And what I've got is just a simple little pickup tool that expands out and in that you use to pick up things that you drop where you can't reach. When that touches it and it doesn't stick, then I put it in the quench. Now I use peanut oil. The only downside to peanut oil is once it gets heated up to 120, 30 degrees, which is where you want it, you get hungry. Because the peanut oil smells like you fixing to throw some deer meat or chicken in it. But regardless of that, that's where you want it. Then you put it in and quench it. Now, I'm going to tell y'all, this business of fire shooting up 6 foot high and all of this stuff, it can happen. But that's a lot more dramatization than it is actually what really happens. I get some fire sometimes about that far. You put it in that quench real slow, and then you move it back and forth as you go until you're completely through. Then you pull it out and look at it. If it's not warped, well, then you're good to go. Once I do that, I put it over here and let it set. And then I take it out and put it in I sharpen it at that point. Now it does have a dull edge on it until that point. Then I put it on there and I sharpen it until it gets as sharp as I want it to be. Now I don't get it razor sharp at that time, but I do put a good edge on it. I put it in this little old oven. I got a little confectioner oven over here. Goes up to 450 degrees. I put it on 450 for an hour. Take it out and I turn it over, 450 on the other side for an hour. Now, go ahead and say, well, you don't need to do that. An hour is the only thing that matters. Okay, I'm fine with you doing that. This is the way I do it. This is the way I like to do it. So, to me, I'm going to do an hour on one side, an hour on the other side, regardless if it's a waste of time or not. Once I do that, I take it out and then I go through and I polish it and get it ready to put a handle on and all of that good stuff. But that takes you through the durability of the metal and how you're getting your molecules lined up in order when they're out of order. That's what you want to be able to have a good sharp knife that'll hold an edge really well. Like I said, I use 5160, I use 1097. That's a great metal. On some of my other knives, I'll use 1080, whatever, you know. These are on the smaller knives. I try not to use anything below 1097, but most knives you buy are going to be in the 1080 range. And on a lot of the knives you buy, even though it says 1097, you don't know how much 1097 it's got in it. Because in some knives you can put 5160, you can put D2 steel, which is premium steel. What that means is there's an element of D2 steel in the knife blade. Doesn't necessarily mean the whole knife's made out of D2 steel. It means that D2 steel was used and infused in the blade to make it. So that's basically it as far as durability of the blade. When I sell one of my knives, and I've had people tell me time and time again, man, I've done this with your knife. It's sharp. It holds an edge. Let me tell you a story. Had a guy at church, bless his heart, a good friend of mine passed away. And he wanted a knife. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to make him a knife. I did. I made him a knife. And I told him, I said, now that's a good sharp knife. Don't cut yourself with it. He was bush hogging out in his pasture. And somebody had put a hunting tent out there. He didn't know it was there. It wrapped on his bush hog. So what he did was he pulled that hunting tent in and took several of his knives and tried to cut it. So he went and got my knife, and he said, I cut through zippers. I cut into the rods, that fiberglass rods. You're going to have to take that knife back and sharpen it. I took it out of the sheath and I felt of the blade. And I told him, I said, this blade is pretty sharp, but I'll take it and sharpen it. Don't have a bit of problem with that. But you didn't dull the blade. He said, I had to dull the blade. Cut through two zippers on the tent. Cut into rods. That blade held up to that, you know, and it kind of made me a little proud about the blade and how it did. Because, you know, I have not really tested one to that point other than just use for myself cut into bone, skin, and deer. So to answer your question on durability of a knife, they're very durable. They are, and they hold up. If you get one of my knives and you take it home and the handle falls off of it, bring it back to me. If I can see where you hadn't beat the handle to death doing something with it, I'll either replace it or give you money back. But anyway, that's the durability. Now, another question that I got that I want to answer is, how do I buy a knife from you? Because you do them in the knife show, you have the prices, all that good stuff, but I don't know how to buy one from you. Well, if you're interested in purchasing a knife from me, and if you don't live close enough to drive down to my shop or for me to make you one, and I'll even meet you somewhere if you want to buy one and you're within, say, 30 miles, 30, 35, 40 miles of where I live. The best way to do it is to send me an email. Send me an email. My email is on my YouTube page, and you can get me like that, or you can look on most of my knife shows. I include my email, probably not as much as I need to. Or number two, when you see one that you like during one of the knife shows, comment down below it, I would really like to purchase this knife. How do I get in contact with you? And I will give you my contact information. Now, I'm working on a web page. It's a slow go process because I had a web page at one time, and I said I'd never do another one. But if this works out like I want it to, I'll be tickled about it. But it'll be easier to purchase a knife once I get that part done. But for right now, if you want a knife and you see one that you like, for example, in my knife show the other day, I told y'all that I was doing a jar with 13 knives in it. That's the jar right there. That has 13 folder knives, different types of knives. Now, these knives that I've got in here right now, if I go to a market, I sell them for $5 to $10 a piece, depending on what the knife is. And I've got 13 of those in there for $50. 13 for $50. Now you say, well, those aren't the kind of knives I like. Let me tell you. Do you know how many knives you can stick around in different places? I'm always hunting a knife. Put it in your toolbox, put it in your tackle box, put it in the pocket of your truck or your car, or put one in the pocket of your truck and the pocket of your car. Put it in your boat if you got a boat. Put it in one in your four-wheeler. Put one here, put one there. And then when you get ready for a knife, wherever you're at, you've got one. I mean, back last year, I had two knives in my, just old knives, because sometimes I'm cutting vines and other things. In my backpack when I went hunting, I have a knife in my toolbox in there. I've got a knife in my toolbox in here, because I carry them to different places depending on what I'm doing. I got two knives in my buggy out there that I use. I'm going over to back 40 to do something. I want to make sure I've got a knife, because sometimes I have to cut little vines and things like that. That is a steal, 13 knives, and you get that little jar with the knives in it for $50. Now, let's say you want to buy that. Hey, I want to buy one. Well, just comment at the bottom of the page. How do I get in contact with you? I'd like to purchase the $50 jar of knives. $50 jar of knives. And I put down in the bottom of it, this is my email address. Send me an email. I'll tell you how to pay for it. I take PayPal. I take Cash App. I have not got Venmo yet. Tried to put it on last year and couldn't load it. They were having problems. And I've just never gone back and tried to do it. But that is something I'll try to do before markets start up in April. So, you know, that's the best way to get a hold of me. Comment below my knife sale page. I would like to buy this knife. I want one of the small buoys. I'll send you a picture of what I've got through email to make sure this is the one you want. And then if it is, we'll talk postal rates and things like that, which brings me to another subject. I got asked the other day, how much does it cost to ship a knife? Well, that's a hard question to answer. I figure that will cost $15 to ship, maybe 20, 15 anyway. Now, I haven't shipped UPS but one time, and I had a load of stuff to ship, and it cost me about $40 to do it, but it was a bunch of stuff in there, and it was heavy. I don't know. If I send you a small folder or a small knife in a small box, probably $6. If it's over $6 for something small, you know, I usually just pay the difference in it. The larger they get, the more they cost. I shipped a Arkansas toothpick that was 22 inches long, the knife, the sheath, and everything, in a 24-inch box, all the way to McKinney, Texas, for I think it was $21 is what it cost to ship there. So I don't foresee having to ship anything any more than that, and that's a really large knife. The smaller they go, the more you look at $10, $12, $15. So what I try to do is I try to keep my knives priced like this. On a smaller knife, $5, I'll take care of anything over that. If you buy one of the Skinners, which is the, 5-inch bladed Skinner knife, something like that, $10. Anything over that, I'll take care of it. When you get into the buoys, $15. If it's under $15, I'll take that much off, and I'll tell you before you ever pay for it. That way we'll be on the same page with it. I can take it up there and I can have it weighed and checked, and they tell me what it is. So, a little more work for me, but I'd be glad to do it for y'all. And as I go through and do this, I keep records of them. I'll have to go pull them and see what it was, how much this cost to ship, how much that cost to ship. Uh, it's just hard to come up with a good round number, but that gives you a ballpark figure. I don't think you could buy a single knife I've got that's going to cost over $21 to ship anywhere in the United States. Uh, Anything outside of that, that's a whole other story. My range for most of the knives that I ship run between $6, $5, and $11. That's the range for most of them. A little bit larger knife like the Bowie, it could possibly go up to 14 and 15. I don't think it would go over 15. If it did, I'd take care of the rest of it. So that is the information on shipping. Remember, I can take cash out. Right now, I can take PayPal. If I do get Venmo loaded on anytime within the next week or so, I'll announce it on one of my YouTube pages that I do. So that's basically where we're at. So we've talked about the durability of the knives, how I get the metal. Well, I didn't say where I got it, but I mean, I purchased it from here and there. Jant's Knife Supply has great metal. I trust them. Some of these other little places, I buy them off of Facebook, people that have them for sale and stuff like that. But I only buy metal that I know is going to make a good knife. And durability of the metal, how you ship it. And I don't know of any other questions anybody has. So that should pretty much answer most of the questions y'all have on things. If you come up with some more, let me know and we'll tackle that. Anyway, y'all take care of yourself. Good to talk to you this morning. Hope everybody has a great day. And I am working on that twist knife today. As a matter of fact, I just got through forging it out. And it's over here cooling, and we're going to get it tempered today and probably get it polished up in the morning, put the twist in the handle. I'll have to go back and do a little cleanup work after that, and then it will be ready to show y'all the end results. That's the one I'm trying to get everything crammed into one nice little package on a video for you. Takes you through the process. Y'all have a great day, and remember what Paul said, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. And we can do that if we will submit to his will and let him do it. We're sometimes our own worst enemy, aren't we? Y'all take care.